The stars outside the wide windows of the peace station shimmered like tiny lights on a black sea. Dozens of ships from different species floated nearby, their colors, shapes, and sizes telling stories of their worlds. The great hall inside the peace station was filled with quiet tension. It was the first time humans had been invited to speak in the Galactic Council. Most aliens did not trust them. Some laughed at them, others feared them. And almost all believed they didn't belong. Among the elder species, in the center of the hall, the tall Uran guards stood in perfect rows. Their polished armor reflected the golden lights above. At the far end of the hall sat the alien princess, daughter of the Uran emperor. She wore a long blue robe with silver lines that showed her royal blood. Her face was calm, her bright violet eyes scanning the humans entering the chamber. She had been told to watch them carefully, not to speak, only observe. She was not to trust them. And yet deep down, she felt a strange pull. Curiosity, the human diplomat, walked in with quiet steps. He wasn't wearing armor or anything shiny. His clothes were simple, dark, neat, and without pride. He didn't come with guards or loud words. His name was Paul. And he didn't look like a warrior. He looked like someone who had walked many hard roads and still found a reason to smile as he stepped onto the speaker's circle. He bowed respectfully, not too low to show weakness, not too high to seem proud, just enough to show respect. He looked around the room at all the strange faces and cold stares. Then he began to speak. "I know many of you think humans are nothing special," he said in a steady voice. "We have no great ships. We have no ancient knowledge. We were late to the stars. We know this. But we have one thing. We don't stop. Trying." The princess leaned forward just a little. Not enough for anyone to notice. But her interest had been caught. The human didn't shout. He didn't beg. He spoke like someone who had lost things and still chose peace. Paul shared short stories. He told of a human colony that built a shelter during a storm while starving, only to share it with injured aliens who had crashed nearby. He spoke of a farmer on Mars who planted alien seeds by mistake and didn't destroy them, but helped them grow. He spoke of children on a human space station who learned alien languages before their own, just to make friends. Each story was short. Each one was true. And every time he spoke, he didn't ask for praise. He only asked for a chance. "We are not perfect," he said, "but we care. And when we care, we stand." Some of the council members whispered. Some smiled. Their eyes, the princess said nothing. But her hands slowly unclenched. She didn't realize they had been tight. After the speech, Paul stepped down. He didn't look proud, just tired. He sat quietly at his place and listened as the other delegates spoke. Some praised him, some questioned him. A few insulted him. He didn't react, just nodded and answered with calm words. When the meeting ended, the princess stood and walked toward the private chambers. Her guards followed her silently. She didn't speak until the doors closed behind her. "The human," she said, "does not act like the others." Her main guard frowned. "Do you trust him, princess?" She shook her head. "Don't know. But he doesn't speak like a liar." Across the station, Paul sat alone in a quiet room. He looked out at the stars. His hands trembled just a little. He had faced many rooms before, but never one like that. He wondered if he had made a mistake. Maybe humans weren't ready. His communicator buzzed. "You are invited to a quiet meeting with a member of the royal house," the voice said. "Do not bring weapons. Do not be late." He stood slowly, heart beating faster. Not from fear, but from the weight of what might come next. Moments later, he entered a quiet chamber filled with soft lights and quiet music. The princess stood alone by the window, her face calm, her eyes thoughtful. "Thank you for coming," she said. "Thank you for the invitation," Paul replied. "I watched your speech," she said. "You spoke simply. No clever traps, no pride. Just truth." Paul nodded. "Truth is easier to remember." She turned to face him. "My people do not trust yours." "I know," he said, and yet she added, "You did not beg or demand. You asked for a chance." Paul gave a soft smile. "You've had to ask many times. Before we're used to it." The princess looked at him for a long moment. Then she said, "Tell me, what do humans fear most?" He paused, being forgotten. That answer made her go quiet. She turned back to the stars. "We've lived long," she said. "Seen many rise and fall, but your people, there is something strange about you." Paul waited but didn't press her to explain. He just stood beside her and looked at the stars too. The silence between them was not heavy. It was the kind that let thoughts grow. For the first time, the princess didn't see Paul as a simple human. She saw something deeper, and she began to wonder what if humanity's strength wasn't in weapons or ships, but in their hearts. The next day, the station halls were quieter than usual. The speeches had ended, but whispers still moved between delegates like thin smoke. Many spoke of the human diplomat. Some called him foolish, others called him brave, but most just didn't know what to make of him. The alien princess sat in her private chamber reading reports, yet her mind kept drifting back to Paul's answer. "We fear being forgotten." Those words echoed again and again. It was a simple thing to say, yet it held a weight that made her chest feel tight. Her people, the Urine, were one of the oldest empires in the galaxy. They feared nothing. They forgot others, not the other way around, but humans. Humans feared something the Urine had never considered. The princess stood and told her guards she wanted to walk the station without escort. They hesitated but obeyed. She wore a long hooded cloak and stepped out into the quiet halls. She walked past the gardens, past the art rooms, and finally reached the observation deck. There, sitting alone with a small notebook, was Paul. He didn't notice her at first. He was writing something slowly, as if choosing every word with care. She stepped closer and cleared her throat softly. Paul looked up, surprised. Then he stood quickly. "Princess," he said politely. "You don't need to bow," she said, pulling her hood back. "Not here." He smiled slightly. "And I won't." She looked at the notebook. "What are you writing?" "Just thoughts," he said. "A few things I don't want to forget." "Afraid again?" she asked. He laughed. Gently. "Always, but writing helps." She sat down beside him. Both of them looked out the wide glass wall. Stars stretched far in every direction. Ships drifted slowly like metal whales. "Your words yesterday," she said, "were different." They were true. "Truth is rare in this place," she replied. "That's why it matters more." She turned to him. "Why did they send you?" He shrugged. "Because I listen more than I talk. Maybe because I don't look scary." She looked at him carefully. "You look tired." "I am. I've seen too much war, too many failed talks, and too many people who think peace is a weakness." "We don't think that," she said softly. He gave her a kind look. "You don't, but others do." There was silence again, but it was not cold. It was peaceful. Just then, alarms started flashing red. A loud voice echoed through the station. "Warning. Internal breach. Unauthorized access to power systems. Security lockdown initiated." Paul jumped to his feet. The princess stood beside him. "You need to return to your quarters," he said quickly. "It could be an attack. And you?" she asked. "I'll go help the crew. I know some of their systems. I've studied this station." "You are a diplomat," she reminded him, "not a guard." "And yet," he said with a calm smile, "I still have hands, and people need help." Before she could stop him, he ran. Guards rushed in moments later, finding the princess standing alone. "Your Highness," one called, "please come with us. Find the human diplomat," she said. "He's running toward the control levels. He's not our concern." "He is now," she ordered. Meanwhile, Paul was already climbing through narrow maintenance tunnels. He moved fast, ignoring pain in his knees and the sweat on his brow. He reached a control box near the station's reactor where a small crew of technicians stood frozen. "I'm sure what to do." "What's wrong?" he asked. A young alien shouted. "The override won't stop the breach." "Someone is trying to open the fuel lines." "Sabotage?" Paul asked. The alien nodded quickly. "Yes." Paul took one look at the flashing screen, showed an unknown signal forcing the safety locks to open. If they did, the core could explode. Thousands could die. I need a cable and a bypass tool, Paul said. You're not trained. Just trust me. They handed him the tools. While others shouted in fear, Paul dropped to the floor, crawled under the main board, and found a thick cable marked red. His hands moved fast. He counted backward. 504. 3, ... and then he cut the cable. Everything stopped. The alarm went silent. The red lights faded. The screen blinked once, then showed a green sign. Override failed. Core secured. The crew cheered, but Paul didn't move. He had passed out from the heat and stress. When he woke up, he was in the medical bay. His vision was blurry. Soft voice said, "He's waking." The alien princess stood at his bedside. "You saved the station," she said. "Is it still in one piece?" He asked weakly. "Yes." "Then good," he smiled. "You risked your life," she whispered. "Others would have done the same." "No," she said firmly. "They wouldn't." Paul turned his head toward her. "Why do you care so much?" he asked as she was quiet. Then she said, "Because you made me question what I've been taught." He blinked slowly, unsure how to answer. She continued, "You didn't just speak of peace. You acted on it." Paul gave a tired laugh. "I just didn't want us to blow up." "You joke," she said, "but what you did mattered." Paul looked at her with tired eyes. "And let's make sure it keeps mattering." She nodded. "We will." As she stood to leave, she paused. "Get some rest, Diplomat," he smiled. "Yes, Princess." And with that, she walked out, her mind no longer full of doubt, but of questions about humans, about peace, and about him. Paul spent the next 2 days recovering in the medical bay. The human doctors offered him rest, but he refused to stay in bed for long. He walked slowly, with a limp, but his mind stayed sharp. Every time he passed by the observation windows, he looked out at the stars, as if they gave him strength. Meanwhile, the station was no longer calm. Security teams moved through every hallway. Scanners were checked again and again. Sabotage attempt had shaken the trust of all. No one knew who had sent the signal that tried to open the core. It didn't come from outside. It came from inside the station. Rumors started to spread. Some blamed smaller alien factions. Others whispered about rogue Urine generals who didn't want peace. A few even pointed fingers at the humans, saying the sabotage was a trick to earn sympathy. The alien princess stayed quiet through it all. She watched, listened, and said little. Her father, the emperor, sent her a message. "Return home. Your task is done." But she did not answer. Not yet. Instead, she sent a private message to Paul. He met her that evening in the empty Star Garden, a quiet part of the station filled with plants and soft glowing lights. She stood near a silver tree that had leaves shaped like wings. "You look better," she said. "I feel worse," he joked. "But thank you." She smiled softly. They sat on a stone bench. Silence passed between them, but it wasn't uncomfortable. "I need your help," she said at last. Paul looked at her, surprised. "What kind of help?" "I want to know who tried to destroy this station," she said, "and why." Paul nodded. Slowly, "You don't trust the Council's investigators?" "Some of them want peace," she said. "But others fear it. If they find the truth, they may hide it." Paul rubbed his chin. "And you want me to investigate?" "Yes," she said. "You're an outsider. They won't expect you, and you've shown you can be trusted." He looked at her eyes. There was no fear in them, only honesty. "All right," he said. "I'll do it." Paul started quietly. He asked questions to station workers, engineers, and guards. He didn't push too hard, just listened. Many liked talking to him. He didn't act important. He treated everyone with respect. After 3 days, he noticed something strange. A cargo worker told him that a few crates were delivered to the lower sectors without inspection. Right before the sabotage, Paul followed the trail. The crates came from a supply ship called the Marthas. When he checked the crew list, he found a name that didn't match any known alien registry. It was fake. He brought the name to the princess. "This," she said, holding the report, "is not one of ours." Then, someone planted a saboteur using false identity, Paul said. They knew the system well. "Too well," she added. They looked at the name again. Whoever this was, she said, had help from the inside. The next day, the council gathered again. This time the mood was cold. A senior delegate, an old alien from the Valari race, stood and pointed at Paul. "We demand answers." The human diplomat was near the core. "How do we know he didn't plan the whole thing?" The room fell silent. Paul stood up slowly. "I risked my life to stop that breach," he said. "I didn't come here to destroy peace. I came to help build it." "Your words are just that, words." The delegate snapped before Paul could speak again. The princess rose from her seat. "Enough," she said. All eyes turned to her. "We have found proof." She continued, "that someone used a false name to enter the station. That person worked near the core, and it was not a human." She handed the council the report. It showed the fake name, the ship, and the movements. "This attempt was meant to break trust," she said, "to stop peace, but it failed." The room stayed quiet then. One of the younger alien leaders stood. "Whoever did this must be punished." "They will," the princess said. "The would. But let us not punish the wrong people." She looked at Paul. "Some still see humans as weak. But this one has been strong where it mattered most." Paul said nothing. He simply nodded in respect. Later in the princess's chamber, Paul leaned against the wall and exhaled. "That could have gone badly. It still might," she said. "There are those who want us gone. Then we'll just have to stay. Longer." He smiled. She walked over and handed him a small glass box. Inside it was a thin silver pin with the symbol of her house. "What's this?" he asked. "A token of trust," she said. "You've earned it." Paul looked at the pin. "I didn't do this for gifts." "I know," she said. He pinned it on his jacket anyway. Then she said quietly, "You spoke calmly when they accused. You didn't show anger." "Anger blinds," he said. "I've learned to see." She looked at him closely. "What do you see now?" He smiled. "Someone who wants peace just as much as I do." That night, while the station rested, a silent ship left the dock. On board were two figures dressed as engineers, but they were not. One of them, speaking in a hidden channel, said, "The Diplomat is a problem. The princess is no better. Phase 2 begins soon." Somewhere in the stars, a new threat was waking. But on the peace station, the human and the alien princess stood side by side, still unsure of the future, but no longer walking alone. The peace station returned to quiet routines, but the calm felt thin, like a shell that could crack at any time. Behind every smile was a whisper. Behind every meeting, a hidden concern. The failed sabotage attempt had shaken the council deeply. Trust was a fragile thing now. Paul continued his quiet work. He attended sessions, spoke with alien leaders, and helped translate between angry voices. He didn't demand attention, he offered understanding. And slowly, some began to listen. The alien princess watched him from a distance more often now. She noticed how even the smallest workers, cleaners, cooks, technicians nodded to him with respect. He didn't act higher than them. He remembered names. He shared food. He asked how they were. Simple things, but in this place they meant more than titles or crowns. One evening, she called him to the Crystal Garden, a peaceful place where blue trees glowed and soft wind hummed through hidden vents. When he arrived, she was already seated on a stone ledge. "You walk like a tired man," she said with a gentle smile. "Because I am one," he replied, sitting beside her. She looked up at the stars. "There's talk in the Council of Canceling. The peace talks. Some believe the sabotage was a sign. A sign that peace is dangerous," Paul said quietly. "Yes," he shook his head. "Peace has always been dangerous. It means putting down your shield. It means being open to pain. You still believe in it?" "I believe in trying," he answered. "We may fail, but trying matters." The princess looked at him thoughtfully. "I was raised to think emotions were weakness. That feelings. Cloud judgment. But watching you, it makes me wonder if we've been wrong." He didn't say anything. He just listened. "I envied that about your people," she said. "You feel things. And you don't hide it." Paul laughed softly. Hide it plenty. But when it matters, we speak. Or we act. Like jumping into danger for strangers? Yes, he said. Especially then. She looked at him and said, I'm glad you didn't die. Smiled. Me too. He sat in silence, the soft hum of the garden wind surrounding them like music. Then her comlink buzzed. She frowned. A message from my father. Bad news, Paul asked. He's sending a fleet. Paul's smile faded. To support the peace. To protect me, he says. I think he doesn't trust this place anymore. Paul stood slowly. If the fleet arrives, the other council members may think it's a threat. I know, she said. I'm trying to delay them. How long do we have? 2 days, she replied. Paul looked out at the stars. Then we need to do something big before then. Something that shows unity. She nodded. But what? A gesture. Something public. Something true. The next day, Paul sent invitations to all council members, engineers, workers, and staff. The message was simple. Join us for a remembrance gathering in the station's main hall. To honor those lost and those still hoping, many didn't understand. Some ignored it. Others grew curious. By nightfall, the main hall was full. There were no banners, no guards.
All speeches.
Paul stood on a simple platform. Beside him stood the princess dressed in plain royal cloth, no crown. No weapons. Thank you for coming, Paul said. He stepped aside. The princess spoke. This is not a speech, she began. This is a reminder. She looked around the room. The attempt to destroy this station could have ended all of us. But it didn't. Because one human acted, many others stood with him. They didn't ask who we were. They just helped. People in the crowd nodded. Double quotes, we must not let fear guide us now. Peace is not built in council chambers alone. It is built in gardens, in kitchens, in engine rooms, by hands that work, by hearts that care. She turned to Paul. He spoke next. My people were not born for space, he said. We crawled up from dust, and still, here we are, not perfect. Not powerful, but willing. He stepped down then. One by one, station workers began lighting small candles. They placed them around the hall. Aliens of all kinds stepped forward. Engineers, nurses, translators, soldiers, and joined in the quiet light. No orders. No speeches. Just a shared moment. The light grew until the hall glowed with soft gold and white. And then something unexpected happened. An old war general known for his cold heart stepped forward. He bowed deeply to Paul and the princess. I never thought I'd say this, the general said, but today I believe. Others followed, and in that quiet, glowing room, a kind of peace was born, not forced, not written, but felt. That night, the princess stood alone on a balcony. Paul walked up beside her. You gave them hope, she said. You did too, he replied. She turned to him. If my father's fleet arrives, the council may break. Then we must convince him to wait. He does not listen easily. Paul smiled and let him listen to both of us. She looked at him. You'd speak to my father? If it helps peace? Yes. Her expression softened. You may be foolish human, she said, but you are not afraid. I am afraid, he said quietly, but not of him, I'm afraid. Of losing this, he motioned to the stars. This moment. This chance. She nodded, and for the first time she gently placed her hand over his. No words were spoken, but in that simple act, stars above seemed to burn just a little brighter. The arrival of the Aryan fleet shook the peace station's calm. Massive warships floated near the docking bays, their dark metal shining under the station's lights. Their presence was a clear message. The emperor did not trust the fragile. Peace. He sent his strongest forces to watch over his daughter and remind the council that the Urine Empire was still powerful. The princess watched from the observation deck, her violet eyes fixed on the ships. Her heart felt heavy. She knew this was her father's way of protecting her, but also of warning everyone. The council's talks were no longer about peace. They were about control and fear. Paul stood beside her, quiet but steady. "They don't understand the moment," he said. "No," she replied. "They see power as the answer. But power alone builds walls, not bridges. We have to break those walls," Paul said. The next day, the council was tense. Many delegates openly spoke against humans. Some said the sabotage proved humans could not be trusted. Others demanded harsher laws. But Paul and the princess stood firm. Paul asked to speak. "Peace is not the absence of fear," he said clearly. "It is the courage to face fear together," some murmured. Others glared. The princess followed. "I have lived in this empire my whole life. I have seen wars cost. This station was built to be a symbol of hope. Do not let fear destroy that. Hope." She looked around the room. "We must look beyond our old prejudices," Paul added. "We all carry shadows of doubt. But in these shadows, there is also light. We must choose which one to follow." The room was silent again. Then a small voice spoke. It was a young Uran delegate. "I believe in this peace," she said, "and I want to help." Slowly, others nodded. The princess smiled softly. After the meeting, Paul and the princess walked through the station's lower levels. The halls were busy with workers repairing damage and upgrading systems. They saw many species working side by side. "This is what peace looks like," Paul said. "It is fragile," the princess answered, "but it can grow." They stopped. Near a small cafe, a group of young aliens sat chatting with human engineers. Laughter filled the air. "People need moments like this," Paul said. "To see each other as friends, not enemies. And moments like these are our true strength," she said. Paul looked at her. "You've changed since the talks began," she laughed softly. "Maybe I was silent before because I was afraid. Fear can keep us quiet," Paul said, "but courage can make us speak." She nodded. "We have given me courage." The calm didn't last. A message arrived from the emperor. He demanded that the princess return immediately. He did not want her near the humans. He believed the talks were a mistake. The princess read the message in silence, and then she sent a reply. "Tell my father," she wrote, "that I will return only when peace is real. Until then, I stand with those who seek it." Paul watched her send the message. "Your father will not like that," he said. "He fears losing control," she said. "But I fear losing hope more." They both knew this was no simple defiance. It was a challenge to the empire itself. Later, Paul was called to a private meeting with the council's leaders. They asked him to stop pushing for peace, he warned him that the empire's patience was thin. Paul stood firm. "Peace is not my choice," he said. "It is a need." He spoke of his home, of humanity's long history of pain and recovery. He spoke of forgiveness and strength. His words moved some leaders, but angered others. The princess stood nearby, silently supporting him. When the meeting ended, she took Paul aside. "You risk much," she said. "So do you," he replied. "Then let us risk it together." They shook hands, sealing a silent promise. The final days before the fleet's possible arrival were tense. Paul and the princess organized a public event in the station's central plaza. They invited all species to come together for a festival of unity, food, music, stories, and games from every culture. On the day of the festival, the plaza was alive with colors and sounds. Aliens and humans laughed, danced, and shared meals. The princess walked among the crowd, her smile genuine. Paul joined her, tired but happy. As the festival reached its peak, distant rumble echoed. The fleet was entering the station's orbit. Many froze in fear, but Paul stepped forward, raising his voice. "This fleet does not have to be a threat," he said. "Let it be a sign of protection, not war." The princess nodded and spoke beside him. "We welcome peace, not fear." Slowly, the crowd cheered. The fleet's commander sent a message. "We will watch closely, but we do not come to fight. We come to guard." The princess and Paul exchanged a hopeful glance. The empire's shadow still loomed. Yet for the first time, peace had a chance to grow. The peace station was bathed in soft light as dawn stretched over the stars. After weeks of tension, the day had come to decide the future. The Great Hall was filled with delegates from every corner of the galaxy. Wise watched carefully, waiting to see if peace would hold or break. The alien princess stood at the front, her violet eyes calm but strong. Beside her was Paul, the human diplomat. Both carried the weight of hope and fear. They had fought for this moment, spoken for it, risked for it. The Emperor's fleet still hovered near the station, a reminder of old power. But today was not about warships or threats. It was about trust. The princess spoke first. "This peace is not just my wish," she said clearly. "It is the wish of all who dream of a future without war." Paul followed. "Humans have learned through pain that peace is fragile, but it is worth every effort. Today, we choose to build a future, not destroy it." The room held its breath then. A senior delegate stood, a leader, known for wisdom, not anger. "We have seen courage here," he said, "in the actions of one human and one princess. Today we must follow their example." One by one, the delegates agreed. A new treaty was signed, one that promised cooperation, protection, and respect between humans, the Urine Empire, and all others present. As the signing finished, the princess and Paul looked at each other, a quiet smile shared between them. Outside, the Emperor's fleet lowered its weapons in a sign of acceptance. The galaxy had changed. In the days that followed, the peace station became a place of learning and friendship. Humans and aliens worked side by side, sharing knowledge and culture. Paul continued his work as a diplomat, but now with more allies and fewer enemies. The princess visited human areas often, was curious about their ways and stories. She found herself enjoying their humor, their hope, and their resilience. One evening, as they walked in the station's gardens, she asked Paul quietly, "Do you believe this peace will last?" He looked at the stars. "I believe we made a start. Peace is a journey, not a destination." She nodded. "Then let us walk that journey together." Paul smiled. "I would like that." Months later, the princess received news from her father. The Emperor had called for a meeting. Many feared he would undo all that had been done. But when the princess and Paul arrived, the Emperor greeted them with a rare smile. "You have done well," he said. "Peace is not weakness. It is strength. You've shown me that." The princess bowed. "Thank you, father." Paul extended his hand and the Emperor shook it firmly. A new alliance was born that day, one that promised hope. To the entire galaxy, years passed, and the stories of the brave human diplomat and the thoughtful alien princess spread across star systems. Their courage and wisdom inspired others to seek peace in their own worlds. The princess often remembered the first time she watched Paul speak, silent but brave. She realized that bravery did not come from power alone, but from the heart, and Paul knew that sometimes the greatest battles were won not with weapons, but with words and trust. The galaxy was not perfect. Challenges would come again. But now there was a path, a way forward. The alien princess and the human diplomat stood together, watching the stars, and in their silence the future spoke loud and clear.